Good evening. My name is Paul Holdengraber, and I'm the Director of Public Programs here at the New York Public Library, otherwise known as Live from the New York Public Library. Initially, Slavoj Žižek and I thought that we would have a conversation with each other on stage, and we figured that if we did that, we didn't know who would outdo each other's accent. So we decided not to do it. You know, when people ask me where my accent is from, I simply tell them it's affected. It's a great pleasure to welcome you tonight to what I think will be a lecture, perhaps, and certainly a performance. I won't say very much more because Slavoj Žižek will be coming in a few minutes. I would like to thank 192 Books for selling the books, both of Slavoj Žižek and the current issue of The Believer. I highly recommend you pick that up too, because it has a video of the guide, the pervert guide to cinema by Slavoj Žižek. I think you might enjoy it. I would also like to thank Metro, who is our sponsor for all things print. I would also like to tell you about upcoming events, particularly an event about James Baldwin. It's a tribute we're doing to James Baldwin, and it's happening next Tuesday. We sold out of the small space, South Court, with 200 people and just opened it up, and I highly recommend that if you're interested, you sign up as quickly as possible. It will have Colm Toybin, John Edgar Wideman, Mantia Diawara, Farah Jasmine Griffin, Michael Thelwell, and the moderator will be Walton Muyumba. I just discovered, I must admit, the work of James Baldwin, and I am just deeply moved. And so I feel that I want to share this joy with you, so please come. Now, some of you may not know the other kinds of events we have coming up, so I recommend you join our email list. There you'll see not only are we doing a Baldwin event, but we are finishing the season with a celebration of Ian Fleming, who will celebrate, if he were to be alive today, 100 years of existence. And we will be doing a Bond event, and I don't yet quite know who's coming, but I think it might be quite fun. And I know that Slavoj Žižek has a take on Bond, and he might digress on that in a few minutes. Now, many of you might wonder who Slavoj Žižek is, since very few of you have come today. And I just wanted to let you know who he is. So I asked Žižek to write, I'm sorry, I'm turning my back to you. I asked Žižek to write a Žižek by Žižek. I don't know if any of you read this, but it gives you a sense of the man. Slavoj Žižek, philosopher and psychoanalyst, with three basic orientations: a Hegelian in philosophy, a Lacanian in psychoanalysis, a Christian materialist in religion, and a communist in politics. Arguably the only living philosopher who uses positively the terms dialectic materialism and dictatorship of the proletariat. His work triggers continuous controversy. Welcome to the Desert of the Real. He analyzes the 9/11 event, how was attacked as an anti-Semitic in Israel and a Zionist in Egypt. In his numerous books, he always returns to Hollywood. Good cinema is, for Žižek, a school of critical dialectics for the uneducated masses. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my Marxist friend to you, Slavoj Žižek.
We often find references to psychoanalysis embodied in the very relations between persons. For example, the three Marx brothers, Groucho, Chico, Harpo. It's clear. Groucho, the most popular one, with his nervous hyperactivity, is superego.
Well, that covers a lot of ground. Say, you cover a lot of ground yourself. You better beat it. I hear they're going to tear you down and put up an office building where you're standing. You can leave in a taxi. If you can't get a taxi, you can leave in a huff. If that's too soon, you can leave in a minute and a half. You know you haven't stopped talking since I came here?
Chico, the rational guy, egotistic, calculating all the time, is ego.
Piccolini, you're charged with high treason, and if found guilty, you'll be shot.
I object.
Oh, you object. On what grounds?
I couldn't think of anything else to say.
Objection sustained.
And the weirdest of them all, Harpo, the mute guy, he doesn't talk. Freud said that drives are silent. He doesn't talk. He, of course, is id.
Who are you guys? What are you doing in my room?
He's my partner, but he not speak. He's dumb and deaf.
The it in all its radical ambiguity. Namely, what is so weird about the Harpo character is that he's childishly innocent, just striving for pleasure, likes children, plays with children, and so on. But at the same time, possessed by some kind of primordial evil, aggressive all the time. And this unique combination of utter corruption and innocence is what the it is about. Thank you very much for coming here, although this was for me a slight embarrassment. Like whenever I see myself on screen like this, I try to avoid it. My first automatic reaction is to ask you, would you allow a guy like that take your daughter to cinema? No, the answer is obvious. No, seriously. I want to thank Paul. I always like to be here in the movie, not a big success, but an interesting one, I think, Roland Emmerich's, you remember, The Day After Tomorrow. I think this building was practically the only one in the New York City where people survived the big freeze. I think it's the correct thesis. New York Public Library is, for me, a wonderful mixture of what I cannot but call spiritual obscenity. So, I like to be here. But, since I have, as usual, many things to say, let me go directly to the point. And if you are religious, pray that all this technical stuff with clips will function. So let me begin. Ideology in cinema. It sounds either an old-fashioned, traditional Marxist question or rather stupid, irrelevant one, but I think it is still relevant. Where are we to look for it? I think not in a film's big topic, but in an apparently marginal narrative feature which, as it were, provides the frame for the big event. Think about the production of a couple motif which frames a typical Hollywood narrative about a big historical event, war, natural catastrophe, or whatever. This motif is quite literally the film's ideological surplus enjoyment. Although we directly enjoy the spectacular shots of the catastrophe, war battles, the gigantic wave which destroys cities, Titanic sinking, or whatever, the surplus enjoyment is provided by the sub-narrative of the couple. It is this frame, as the frame through which we perceive the spectacular events. This frame is the film's surplus enjoyment, that which, as it were, bribes us libidinally to accept the ideology of the story. Now, I would like to begin now with a variation on this same motif, namely the deadlock, impasse of the paternal authority, and then its restoration. I think, for example, this is a motif which secretly runs through practically all Steven Spielberg's films. E.T., Empire of the Sun, Jurassic Park, up to Schindler's List and War of the Worlds. I think they're basically all variations on the same motif. Let me begin with E.T. The crucial detail to note from the very beginning is that the family, and the family of the small boy to whom E.T. appears, the family was deserted by the father, as we learn at the very beginning. So that E.T. is ultimately a kind of a vanishing mediator who provides a new father. You remember at the film's end, when E.T. finally goes home, there is already the only good scientist who in the film's last shots is already seen standing by the mother as a future partner. So I think that you shouldn't be too fascinated by E.T. and all that crap. It's really a story about reappearance of the father. Now, Dave, please, if you can now, I pray that it will work, see the two clips.
Maybe an elf or a leprechaun.
There's nothing like that, penis breath!
Elliot! Sit down.
Dad would believe me.
Maybe you ought to call your father and tell him about it.
I can't. He's in Mexico with Sally. Where's Mexico? Excuse me.
I'm gonna kill you.
If you ever see it again, whatever it is, don't touch it, just...
Yourself in the Cretaceous period.
This is what effectively the
You get your
film
first
is
look at
about.
this.
And incidentally,
Yourself
I
in the
don't know
Cretaceous
what's your
period.
attitude here, but for me, whenever I see it, it's really difficult for me to resist
Yourself in the
temptation
Cretaceous
to
period.
imagine
You get your first look at this 6-foot turkey as you enter a clearing.
But that's another
He moves
story.
like a bird.
So let's take apparently a totally different film.
Yourself
Jurassic
in the
Park.
Cretaceous period.
In the very first scene of
Yourself.
Jurassic Park, we see the paternal figure, played by Sam Neill, jokingly threatening a kid with a dinosaur bone. This bone is clearly the tiny object, a version of what Winnicott called the transitional object which later explodes into gigantic dinosaurs. So that, I'm tempted to say that within the film's phantasmatic universe, the dinosaurs' destructive fury only materializes the rage of the paternal superego, which is why later, in the middle of the film, the pursuit group of paternal figure Sam Neill with the two kids, they take refuge from the murderous carnivorous dinosaurs on a gigantic tree. When they do this, significantly, the dinosaurs which approach them there turn out to be the benevolent herbivorous kind. That tired, then they fall asleep, and the paternal figure, the Neill character, throws away the dinosaur bone that was stuck into his belt, signaling that he is now reconciled with the children, displaying warm affection and care for them. It's again, what's crucial is this move from bad father who rejects children to good father taking care. Please, the two clips from Jurassic Park.
Cretaceous period. You get your first look at this 6-foot turkey as you enter a clearing. He moves like a bird, lightly bobbing his head. And you keep still because you think that maybe his visual acuity is based on movement, like T-Rex, and he'll lose you if you don't move. But no, not Velociraptor. You stare at him, and he just stares right back. And that's when the attack comes, not from the front, but from the side. From the other two raptors, you didn't even know were there. Because Velociraptor's a pack hunter, you see. He uses coordinated attack patterns, and he is out in force today.